Hi, everyone. This is Victoria English, head coach with Alcohol Free Lifestyle. Thanks for joining us today. I am coming to you with an exceptionally interesting interview with one of our Project 90 graduates. Bliss Lau is the founder and creative behind Bliss Lau Fine Jewelry. You can find her online. It is a feast for the eyes. Bliss Lau was founded in 2003 upon her graduation from Parsons School of Design. Her one-woman company was launched with a highly sought-after handbag collection that was sold in exclusive shops and boutiques around the world. Today, Bliss's distinctive jewelry designs are recognized across the fashion industry and have been worn by Beyonce, Naomi Campbell, Rebecca Hall, Zoe Kravitz, Christina Ricci, and many more. Bliss is based in New York City and is a mother, a partner, a yogi, and is bicultural, having been raised in Hawaii. Bliss has an incredible story about coming into alignment with her body, mind, and spirit through this alcohol-free journey. We're also going to talk about female empowerment and how becoming alcohol-free may help you become your own best friend and best advocate. Welcome, Bliss. I am so happy that you're here.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here and speaking.
Thank you. It's an honor. And Bliss and I spent some time speaking before I hit record. And we have so much in common as women in our 40s and 50s, juggling motherhood and work. And we got on the topic of course, how alcohol seemed like the magical elixir to enrich those things, but in fact was disempowering us. Bliss, we'll start with just a little bit about your life, where you grew up, what it was like, when you were introduced to alcohol, and things like that.
Sure. I grew up in Hawaii on the islands, and I had an idyllic, now that I look back, it was like really glorious and wonderful life with my family, going to the beach all the time, watching the sunrise. I always felt like a little bit of a misfit there as a super interested in fashion person. I don't know that I necessarily at that time in the late 90s fit in there. And when I graduated from high school, I knew that I wanted to go into fashion. I applied for Parsons and got in. And 10 days after I graduated high school, I was alone in New York City with no friends and no one. I maybe had one friend. And I've literally lived here ever since. It was really scary for me. And I didn't drink in college because I felt the great responsibility of delivering for my family. And it was a big thing for them to send me to New York City. And I understood the sacrifice they had to make for that. And then once I got out of school, I launched my collection and started my business for my senior thesis collection at Parsons. And that was the handbag line at the time. And I started hanging out. And the thing that you do in New York is you have a glass of wine here and there. And then when pandemic hit, I had my daughter. She was 16 months old when the shutdown happened, and we just sort of started having a glass of wine every night. And then I woke up, actually this year, it was the New Year's Eve 2023. I was with my sister. We were in San Francisco. There was an atmospheric storm. We had lost power. Everyone went to sleep at like 10 o'clock because we had nothing to do. And everyone was very protective of the alcohol. At least we already can keep it cold, And I was sitting there thinking, why do we care so much? Like, why is that? Like, what is the benefit of this? And then I was thinking, like, why are we even drinking? And so everyone went to sleep, and I sat up and I started Googling alcohol-free podcast. Alcohol podcast. And I mean, I know no one in your program, and I found it and I started to listen to you talking about the podcast. And I was like, okay, there's got to be somebody out there there's got to be some kind of movement here. That night, in the middle of the night, I applied, and that's how I did it.
Wow.
Here. But, I had a habit of drinking every night. And that's just sort of what we do in New York. When you meet people, you meet for drinks. It's just like a socialization element of life that is something I never really questioned until that night. And I had been wanting to not drink all the time. I understood that it was compromising like portions of my life. I hadn't thought that much about it, but I also had started to see the research. And as a person who is a very dedicated I'm very dedicated to health. I started to really, really identify that this was something that was not going to complement my longevity, and having a long, healthy life is something that's important to me. And that was the impetus for me to start thinking about changing some habits.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. You're such a creative person, clearly. But what comes across as you share the journey of coming out of fashion, coming out of design Parsons, and getting curious about what can happen. Let's see what happens. I'm in the city. I don't really know anyone. Let's see what happens. And I hear that again as you started to question, why do we care so much?
Yeah.
Why do we drink so often?
Sure.
And I admire your spontaneity in finding the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm glad that something I said resonated with you, and just going for it. Seems to be a bit of a theme with you. I like it.
I know, I'm all action.
Yes.
My husband is he's a thinker, so he's taught me to balance out a little bit more, but we make a good team.
That is a good team. Yes. Yeah. Once you made the commitment to join us in our program, how did it feel?
Sure. The thing that I thought was interesting, and one of the things that made this really like a delicious, exciting thing for me to do, was what if maybe my journey could impact a person that was embarking upon this lifestyle that I have as an entrepreneur, and could like hack it by not doing this thing that is the norm. And I felt like this greater sense of responsibility in beginning the program because of that. And I really wanted to make sure that I honored all of the entrepreneurs behind us that might read that study or potentially be impacted by the study. So that helped me a lot psychologically in thinking that this is bigger than me.
Yes.
And I think that that's also sort of thematic to the way that I think about my jewelry and how I design and how I create things. Yeah.
Societal awareness. Societal awareness, and feeling a sense of responsibility, not just to yourself, to support your longevity, be there for your child, but also, again, back to curiosity. I wonder if this may blaze a trail for somebody else who's questioning this societal obsession with alcohol, who's questioning, how can I be so health conscious in every area, but continue to drink something that is proven to be detrimental to our health?
Yeah, I think, interestingly, I have you can see me, but I know that not everyone can. But on day one, I have my notebook and I have a clipping from the newspaper that landed on my doorstep that day that says, "Study debunks claim of alcohol's benefits." And I cut it out and I put it in my notebook, and I was like, all signs point towards yes, Bliss. April 1, here we go. How could I possibly question it? And also, my father was Chinese, he's passed, but I'm half Chinese. I get the Asian glow. So it is literally poison to me. And it has been. And there was a guy in high school that was a friend of my sister's who very famously discovered the Pepsid. So I don't know if you know this, that like to stop the Asian glow, Asians oftentimes will take a Pepsid before they go out. And I took Pepsid for years in order to be able to go out and drink so that I could let go of my inhibitions and enjoy myself and not feel aware. And I still would have like blotchiness or wore makeup. So, there was a lot of, I had to preemptively plan for that. And it just seems like completely insane to me that my like 20-year-old self cared that much to do that. But I think that that's really a very impactful thing for me to realize, the power of societal pressures on women and on people to make sure that they do that. And as we know that like studies also say that as we become older women, we care less about these things. We care more, we're happier. It's easier. You don't care about outside people as much. And like, I can't go back and say that like there was not, I would never shame my child self, my 20-year-old self for what they did. But I think it's like, it's a very powerful thing to acknowledge, like how much a part of our regular society this action is. But interestingly, now my experience is very different. I went out to dinner with some friends last week, and normally we go through a couple of bottles of wine together. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to have water today. Fizzy, I have some fizzy. I'm good. And they were like, okay, like no questions asked. I didn't need to proselytize anything, which I wouldn't have anyways. And it just kind of passed through. And they're friends of mine. They're also collectors of my jewelry. And I don't want them to have any sort of feelings in any way, shape, or form. I want them to always have happy feelings with me. So it doesn't make there's no point in saying anything at all. And it was fine. And it was not a problem. Whereas when I was in my 20s, I think I would have felt very uncomfortable.
Lots of wisdom in there. It is interesting when you look at a city like New York, where it is, gosh, you really can just be who you are. It's encouraged to be expressive, whether it's your creativity, your sexual orientation, your faith, anything. And yet, I've coached many people from New York, and that can be a barrier, this societal conditioning. And so it's curious, isn't it, that we don't look at alcohol on the same level as a level playing field, the way we would look at it if we chose to stop eating meat or change religions or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's still that stigma. And I love that you questioned it and put it aside and found that people really don't care that much. They want you to
and so sorry, but I was going to say, like, there's a few things I really love about the world of alcohol that I am going to carry over into this, that I have carried over. And like, I love ritualization. I love that. Like, I love a tea ceremony. I love all the cups that go with a tea ceremony. Like, yes, I love the little tiny dish that you scoop things in. Like, give me beautiful objects. Like, give me a gorgeous glass. Give me a beautiful color. I love those things so much. And those are very much still part of my life, and all of the cool branding that goes around it, like the ritualization around the experience of alcohol, is something that I still really enjoy.
Yes.
And I have my fizzy water, and it's fine, or whatever interesting cocktail that I'm creating that day that doesn't have alcohol in it is totally still fun. And everyone always ends up wanting my drink. I had somebody steal my alcohol-free cocktail at a bar. I was like, are you serious? And then everyone saw me, and then everybody else ordered it too. I was like, this is what, see, nobody really wanted to drink. The minute somebody saw me with it, the bartender had to make 6 more drinks. And all that muddled cucumber was like, everyone was ready for that, give me that hydration. So you never really know how you're going to start it. But we talked about this earlier. Like, part of being a creative, part of being a designer is the ability to identify trends early, because it takes a long time to get somewhere. So I have a tendency to be early with certain trends. And I truly believe that not drinking is a trend that is going to come really, really soon in our cultural environment across the country and hopefully across the world.
Agreed. And that's special to hear that from you as a person who does identify trends and can see what's coming. I love this story about the mocktails. We talked before I hit record about coming into alignment with our authentic selves when we stop drinking. You are obviously a trailblazer. You're not interested in being like everybody else. What is normal anyway? And ew.
Sure.
It's important to you to be an innovator and a thought leader. And so doing that with alcohol is remarkable and authentic to you. How has that shown up in other areas of life as you have really closed that gap of cognitive dissonance around alcohol? You see it for what it is. You are living authentically 24/7. How has that freed up space?
Sure. Well, I guess I want to start with one thing that in terms of like the merging of my ideological self and my true self, which was very much something that happened within the 90-day program. To give you an like understanding it. So my design and my entire business transitioned about 10 years ago. And I started thinking of this idea called provenance-based design, that where I will not work with someone unless they follow all of these guidelines. And it begins and ends with ethics. You care about the environment. You care about how you're extracting the gold from the earth. I'm even going on provenance journeys this year to go meet the miners that mine my gold in Colombia and see how they got rid of mercury or, safely get rid of that process, how they do agriculture. Like every single decision in my collection my creativity is based around beginning and starting with ethically sourced goods. And then also moving into it, kindness. And kindness has a lot of faces. Kindness in how I communicate with my clients, how I communicate with people, how I'm a huge empath. I have a ring that is called the empath ring that I wear every day. But
I need 2 of those.
You should have this ring. But just this idea of kindness and how we share that with everyone, and how I respect myself, the people who make my goods, the people who buy my goods, like all of that is connected. And then you ask yourself the question, like, why am I drinking? Why am I like, what am I doing? Why did I drink 2 green juices, wake up, exercise, meditate? Let's say, I wish I could say I do that all the time. That's not always the case. Do all these things. I have my like cognitive brain pills that I take, all of like so much effort, and my multivitamins, my salt in my water, which I learned from the P90 program. And then I'm going to poison my body. Like, what is this? Why am I doing that? So I think the connection to truly living my life as an entrepreneur and truly living my values as somebody who cares about like heart and soul and body. And I found very quickly after a certain portion of the 90-day program that I didn't really get reactive anymore. Wasn't reactive with my especially my tightest knit, my team. I have one of my team members in here with me. Somebody does something wrong, I'm better at managing it. My daughter, she's 4. That is a hard age. She screams at me when she gets hangry. She's just like, she goes Jekyll and Hyde on you in a split second. And I'm not getting frustrated. I still, of course, get frustrated, but it isn't coming out in a way that is hurtful to her. Yeah. So I think that a lot of these things about what it means to put the right things into your body have really affected how I live and how I connect to the woman that I wanted to be and the woman that I feel proud to be.
Yes.
James Swanwick here. Just a quick interruption to share some of the results that folks have been getting inside of our 90-day stop drinking process as it relates to profession, career, and wealth creation. This is Jeff Salzburn from Minnesota who says, I did an additional deal this month. This is Gaetano from Massachusetts. I've increased revenue. Susie Vaughan says, I've generated 20% more leads. Joe Worley from Michigan says, I got a promotion. Tim Steele from Pennsylvania says, I've generated more clients and income income. And Russell from Australia says, I've saved thousands. So if progressing in your career, profession, business, growing your wealth is a motivation for you to stop drinking, then I invite you to go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/Project 90. Check out the details about Project 90 and how we may be able to support you to stop drinking for at least 90 days through our process and really drive your professional life. Okay, back to the show.
Alcohol is a depressive spirit. It is a depressant, and they refer to it in many cultures as a spirit. And so not only are you bringing a known poison into your body, but you are inviting a depressive spirit in as well. So if you look at that.
Which cultures say that? Do you know which cultures say that? I never heard that.
I do, and I'd have to pull it up, but thank you for the question. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. I've spoken about it on calls. So a depressive spirit coming into your body, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you personalize it and imagine that depressive spirit as a human being, even if, especially as we grow older and we become more discerning and clear about who we allow into our circle, no matter how beautifully packaged that person was, we would reject them.
Yeah.
We would not invite them in. We might find ourselves with them, but we would certainly know to release them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like these analogies and metaphors because it just helps us make sense of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And it unmasks what this really is and what this is really about. It's about energy and vibration and spirit.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You shared something with me that I think is remarkable, because on this podcast, we'll often hear people talk about how they have lost weight, they've gotten the big contract, they've gotten a promotion, their relationship with their spouse or partner is improving. And that is amazing. But you tapped into your creativity, which you know how to do. But I thought what you created during this 90-day program was exceptional and will speak to a lot of women who are listening.
Yeah. And I forgot to say this, Victoria. So one of the major reasons that I wanted to do this was that I've been in a creative block for years. And have these jewelry pieces behind me. And a lot of the things that you have seen that you love, those are things I did a long time ago. They're not recent designs. And after pandemic, I created things, and I don't feel super happy with a lot of those pieces. Like they're not the things that you loved. There's just like necklaces and things I merchandised, I made. I had ideas that didn't hold the same weight that my normal ideas do. And within a few months, within the first month of doing this program, I just it snapped, and I just came up with the Attune necklace. And that was the first necklace I'm designing a whole line now that I've been trying to design a line for a couple of years. And it just nothing could come. And I was like, I've got to find a way to bring my brain back. And the Attune necklace was the first one that came out. It's this idea. So it's all about women. It's based on the idea of hype women, which is me supporting you supporting someone else, you supporting yourself. How do we as women support one another? And that connects to you know me now, so I'm not just going to do, it's not topical, right? So then I'm part of an initiative called Moyo Gems that supports women miners in Tanzania. The pilot program was there, and to give you an understanding of how mining works, these women were working in secondary mine sites. They just have a pickaxe and they're in there and they're digging, and then they get their rocks. They take it to the guy that usually is, a vendor who will take them the rough stones to sell. And the guy is like, okay, well, I'll give you 20% now and I'll pay you the rest when it sells. And he might never come back and pay them. They also at that point didn't know what they had. And so there was a program that went in, it taught them how to gem identify. They don't always have running water and things like that. So it was like they gave them a little booklet that so they could gem identify, and a sheet on that booklet. It was like a little tray, and it had a mirror under it. So they could get the gems wet and use the sun to see the crystals and identify. And then next time the guy comes, they're like, no, this is a sapphire. This is a garnet. These are topaz. This is worth more. So cut to the question, and this is always the question when you're dealing with NGOs and these sort of short-term initiatives in country that are supposed to help that maybe don't have enough time to help, don't have no way to monetize. What is our goal? Our goal is livelihoods for all of us, right? So come in some amazing women. This woman, Monica from Anza Gems, based out of Chicago, and she's in Washington State. But anyways, she figured out a way that we could have a marketplace. And so then there's a bunch of people coming in. And so what happens is those women are able to sell their goods. They know what they're selling. They know what the value is. Many of them made more in a day than they used to make in a year. Yeah, wild. And so now this pilot program of Moyo has now expanded, and then the men were like, not fair. So now men are involved. This was 6 years I waited for the gems while I called the NGO being like, when can I buy them? And I finally was able to place my order for Moyo and have a substantial investment in the women and the project. And then I called a woman I know who has a factory fabrication company in Thailand called Thai Design. She's a second generation woman-owned company. And I said, hey, I'm doing this. I have this idea. She was like, I'm only going to have the women in my fabrication facility work on this. And so then there was that. And then what's the design? So the design are these, it looks like wings. It has a little stones hanging down the middle. And then on the side, I have these, I love a negative space. So it's like open wings because I like the idea that you can see the woman inside. And I put it on a chain where when you have a little pull chain in the back, you just put it over your head and then you can just make it tighter or looser. And the way the wings shape, you're going to soar or you're going to fly. And that's how the necklace is worn. And I'm just getting them in tomorrow. We pre-sold them. And so they're moving out. It's sterling silver. It's beautiful. I have pink stones and red stones. And this was my first idea. And since then I had an aha moment on Friday, and I vigorously sketched all these ideas, and I'm going to have them finished. I'm going to Thailand in 2 weeks. It's all just sort of coming. And it's just this moment of like the way I used to be, the way my brain used to function. And it's all that. And can I contribute everything to alcohol? I would say no. And the reason is this, Victoria, is that this program, when somebody asks me what I did, and if I choose to actually tell them, I would say I did a neuroplasticity program that taught me how to think better. I never say it's the alcohol-free lifestyle because I know that this is this is the choice that you've made for this in sense. But like to me, I did a neuroplasticity program. It taught me, I have a note. It taught me about my thoughts and my feelings, about my body, about the importance of community, and how to function better. And that's truly what this is. Alcohol is just a thing. It's gone in the first day. So it's gone already. But all the other stuff, that's what's really there, in my opinion. And that's what was extremely valuable to me.
You got me in the feels, Bliss. Thank you for letting me be a part of that, for letting us be a part of that. As a woman, to know that I did something to contribute to your connection to yourself and how that's going to benefit other women is wow. I'm not usually speechless, especially on a podcast, but wow, thank you. Just incredible. And it's only been a few months. You're just tapping in again.
Yeah. Imagine what happens in a year. I can't wait to see what happens in a year.
That's the fun part. That's what makes it so interesting. It is never dull not drinking because things just emerge and things unfold and happen in the most beautiful ways. You're changing lives in your way, in new ways, and it just keeps getting better. And doing this podcast is just another way that you're going to touch lives.
Thank you.
Yes. Tremendous wisdom and insight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, if you would like to find Bliss and her beautiful creations. She is again at blisslag.com. And I know people will be rushing to your website to look for that necklace and what comes next. Again, it is the Align necklace.
The Attune.
Attune.
Mm.
See?
Very do. It's like, I feel like it goes
I'm in
with
my feelings so much that my brain is a bit short-circuited right now. The Attune necklace. And
Yeah.
I think I will celebrate my 53rd birthday with an Attune necklace. And I will think of you every time I wear it.
Amazing.
All right. Well, if this has resonated with you, feel free to book a 15-minute discovery call. It's free. It's just a conversation like Bliss and I just had. And until next time, take good care.
James Swanwick here again. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I want to send you some free stuff. If you haven't yet got the Alcohol Freedom Formula, then you can get that at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. The YouTube channel is alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. I put out lots of educational videos on my Instagram page at James Swanwick. You can also find me on TikTok at James Swanwick. If this show has benefited you, I would so appreciate you leaving a review and giving it 5 stars. We have a 5-day no alcohol challenge, a 30-day no alcohol challenge. You can get details over at alcoholfreelifestyle.com. And if you would like to apply to be part of Project 90, which is our flagship process where you get a community, 7 coaching calls per week are available to you, a like-minded community, mostly folks in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, then you are welcome to apply. You can get all the details over at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project 90, and the details are in the show notes. Thank you again for listening. I will catch you on the next one.